Here we go with 7-5. This section's going to go pretty quick, so hang on to your hats because here we go. What you need to know for almost everything in this section is anything that are different parts will be proportional in similar triangles. So there's three main things that we're going to look at. We're going to look at altitudes. Altitudes are proportional to the scale factor if these triangles are in fact similar. So they could give you any pair of these different sides. Let's just say that they give you these lengths. So let's say that they give you AC and FH. Well, those are going to be proportional with their altitudes. So AD to FJ. Essentially just match up the corresponding parts and set them proportional when you know those triangles are similar. And really everything in this section, they will be similar. So we'll be able to get through these, I think, pretty quick. For these here, these are angle bisectors. So the angle bisectors are also proportional with those sides. So let's say that they give me LP and RT. Well, that would be proportional with any of these other sides. So let's just say, for example, they give us KM and QS. You could write a proportion. Make sure that when you're doing these, you're matching up the parts. So if I'm picking like the small triangle number first and then the big triangle number, when I'm writing the other one, I just need to make sure that I have them in that same order so that your proportion's set up correctly. And then for this last one, these are both medians, and the medians are also proportional. So let's say I have CD. Well, CD corresponds to YZ, and that is going to be proportional with any of these other parts. So maybe here, maybe they just give you like those little parts, still proportional, still that same ratio. I could say that DB is equal to ZX. So I told you this would move pretty fast. We're already two examples of this. For this one here, these are both altitudes. So I would say that 16 is to X, and then I just match that up with my corresponding sides. So in this case, that's going to be 20 to 15. And if you need to then go ahead and grab a calculator, you can do that. And when I cross multiply, let's see, I'm going to have 16 times 15. I get 240. And then I'm going to divide that by 20. So X is going to equal 12. For this one here, these are both the medians. So those medians, I could say that 13.5 is to 9. And since I picked the one from this triangle first, I need to use X is to 3. And then I can cross multiply and solve that. So I'm going to multiply those, and then I'm going to have to divide by 9. So let me go back over here to my calculator. 13.5, whoops. Please type this into your calculator too, just to make sure you know what to do. And then I'm going to divide that by 9. So the answer to this one here is 4.5. For this one here, I'm going to go through and read this. The picture may not be drawn for you, so I want to read through it and then show you how we could draw this picture if you in fact had to. So it says here, Leanna's holding her arm straight out in front of her with her elbow straight and her thumb pointed up. And you guys could try this on your own right now. If you just hold your arm out straight, thumb up, and then close one eye, and you can see that if you align one edge of your thumb with something you're looking at, like right now I'm actually doing this and I'm covering up an entire picture that's on my opposite wall. and then you switch eyes, the eye that's open, and I have a hard time doing this because I can't close one eye at a time, so I actually have to use my hand to cover up my other eye. But when you switch eyes without moving your hand or your arm or your head, the car appears to like kind of move, or in my case, my picture appears to move. And it says that her arm is about 10 times longer than the distance between her eyes. So you wouldn't necessarily know this. It just has to give us this in the picture. So this is 10 times what that distance is. And it says that the car is about 5.5 feet wide. Estimate the distance between her thumb and the car. So here are the different parts that I have. I know that this ratio, it said that this number was 10 times this one. So if we're representing this as 10, the distance here is 1. And if this is 5.5 feet, it said that it jumped, what did it say? 4 car widths. So this distance that we're talking about here would be that 5.5 times 4, which is going to be 22 feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a proportion. I'm going to say that this altitude is to that, and this altitude with that 22. So I'm going to set mine up as 10 is to x, as 1 is to 22, and then I can go ahead and cross multiply this. I actually don't even need to divide. I can just say that that would be 220, and the units on this would be feet. This next part is a little harder. It's a little harder to see because we're not talking about 2 separate triangles, we're just talking about 1 triangle. What I have here is I have an angle bisector in 1 triangle, and that actually, I'll write the angle bisector splits the opposite side proportionally with the adjacent sides. And this is kind of hard to see maybe the first time or two, but once you get the hang of it, it should be pretty easy. So this angle bisector is splitting this opposite side into those 2 parts. So we have KM and we have ML. And what it's saying is that it's splitting it proportionally with the lengths of those sides of the triangle. So KM will correspond with JK because that's its adjacent side, and ML will correspond with JL because that is its corresponding side. So when I'm looking here, here's the angle bisector. These are the 2 parts that it's splitting it into. 4 is going to be in a proportion with x, and 6 is going to be with a ratio of 13. So here's the way I would set this up. I would set it up 4 is to x as 6 is to 13, and then I could go ahead and solve that. So when I solve this, I get 6x equal to 52, and then when I divide those each by 6, I get 8 2/3, or you could write 8.6 repeating if you'd rather write it that way. For this one here, here are the 2 parts that this angle bisector is splitting it into. But if you notice, you don't have this length. You only know the whole thing, and you know this part here. So I know I'm not talking directly to you and I can't hear your response, but just think about this for a minute. Let's pretend that this were, let's say 12. If this part is 12, then this over here would be 8, because those two things have to add up to 20, right? Well, what I can do is I can say, well, I don't know exactly how long this is, but whatever it's going to be, I can just take 20 minus that quantity, and that's going to be this length, because both of those parts are going to have to add up to equal that total. So I'm going to use the 20 minus x and the x and write my proportion then with those values. So I would probably write mine as 20 minus x over 11 and set that equal to x over 14. And then I'm going to cross multiply and solve this. So 11x equals, when I distribute here, that's going to be 280 minus 14x. I can add 14x to each side. So 25x is equal to 280, or x equals 11.2. So this one here will probably be where you have the most questions. Please make sure you're trying them and checking them and asking questions when you have them, and I think you'll be able to get it without too much stress. I hope this is very helpful, and I hope you have an amazing day.